Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Glow Podcast. Today, I am here with Leslie, who is an expert in all things holistic wellness and skincare. And so, I'm just going to ask you to go ahead and introduce yourself so that our audience knows who you are.
Sure. Hi. Thank you for the invitation to participate. It's awesome to be here. Holistic skincare is absolutely one of my passions, but a holistic lifestyle, holistic business, and holistic ways of being are even more so. And that is really what got me into doing skincare and one-to-one treatments with my clients. I come to you from Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada, and I am what I would call a serial entrepreneur. My background is in the fashion industry, which is probably what has driven many of my passions moving forward in business. I like running my clinic as much as I like doing services on my clients. And so over the course of the last several years, my skincare business has gotten more and more and more holistic. When I started out, I was on the medical aesthetic side. And the reason I got into that was I partnered with a naturopathic doctor, and we then purchased a classic day spa that was like a nail bar sort of thing right beside our clinic. And I moved over there to evolve it into something that we wanted, or what our vision of it was. Over the course of time, I could not find people to do what I wanted them to do in the clinic. The trainings in school for aesthetics and stuff, just, I don't know how, but somehow they felt that was better. So I first trained myself in aesthetics and then medical aesthetics. And more recently, I've gotten into doing a lot of body work. I am a huge believer in nervous system regulation. And so I've learned a few modalities in helping my clients with that, because I find even in doing some of the more pinchy services, if I can help somebody regulate their nervous system, their experience on the bed is better. But it also carries forward. And in working with some of my clients for acne, rosacea, or other strange dermatitis issues that they may have, when I'm really struggling for really great results, I turn to nervous system, lymphatic drainage, fascial releases, things like that, that release the impingements, whether or not it's internal or external. And that is really what's making me passionate right now in business. And then the other thing I'm really passionate about in business right now is helping other clinicians who are coming into the industry, or other clinic owners. And it's evolving into other businesses, other tradespeople, to really figure out how to operate their business in a way that it aligns with their purpose, so that they are maximizing their energy levels, not burning out, and working towards what I would call their legacy, what they want to leave behind. That's actually the part of my business right now that's got my heart by the strings. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are getting kind of more into the holistic wellness space and kind of learning a little bit more about it. So, when did you kind of adopt this into your business, and kind of what brought that about as well? Because a lot of times I feel like it is our own personal lifestyles that kind of make a change in our businesses as well. So, what kind of brought that about for you?
That's actually a really good question for me, because it started in my first business in my early 20s. I managed not a massive team, but I had a small manufacturing. We developed clothing.
Okay.
we were we grew organically, and every year, I'm a voracious learner, every year I took some type of a course and some type of certification in order to better manage my team, to better run my lifestyle, to avoid my own burnout, and to have my family be healthier. Things like becoming a nutritionist. I became a hypnotherapist. I studied NLP. I mean, I'm in my late 50s, so I have a lot of those things under my belt at this point. And what I didn't recognize until probably a dozen years ago is that all of those things led me to where I am. And they become a big part of how I serve my clients. Because unless we, on a fundamental basis, are really well ourselves, like focused on our 100% well being, managing our own vitality and energy levels, we can't perform in any capacity, whether or not that's, a great friendship or a great business relationship, or even just feeling good. So all of those things over the course of time have become who I am in business right now. And that educational component and the coaching component of working with my clients is a big part of what I do. And I think it makes a difference. Most people in my industry, in the area that I live, have a constant rotation of clients. They're coming
Yeah.
and they're going. I have I have most of my clients come once a month, every month, every season, budgets allowing, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they'll come in and they'll see the naturopathic doctors more often, or they'll see other people. But my skincare clients or my bodywork clients, I'm seeing on a very regular basis. It's rare that I have people coming and going. And I think that level of client retention is a result of the higher level of service that I can provide for them.
Yeah, that's amazing because I do feel like, especially with some of the services in skincare, in body work, maybe somebody will go like once and then they'll be like, okay, I'm gonna go another 6 months, and then they kind of forget about it. But the fact that your clients are continuing to come back to you, that's amazing. And what do you think has like really helped with kind of that client retention? Because I feel like that is an issue, with skincare clinics, with bodywork clinics, with really anyone who is offering a service. What do you think has really helped with that client retention?
I might sound crazy in this answer, but I believe it's because I have taught my clients how to regulate their nervous systems and how to retrain their nervous systems to work for them. Because I think we have to, as we elevate or expand ourselves in life, we have to literally retrain our nervous systems to hold that capacity or attract a new capacity. And I think that's what it is, honestly.
Yeah.
And might sound silly to some, but when we find what I would call our sweet spot in our energy levels, that's where we make magic happen.
Yeah. No, and so, yeah, basically what you're saying is then your clients kind of recognize when their bodies need that certain treatment because their nervous
Absolutely.
systems are regulated. And if they're not, maybe you don't recognize when your body's feeling different. And so you don't recognize that you would need that thing to help you regulate your nervous system, because if your nervous system's constantly dysregulated, then you're not going to notice when, it's not going to change really.
That is absolutely what I'm saying. And then that feeling becomes something that is self perpetuating, actually, because people crave it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. That's very, very cool. So, how kind of then has your approach to wellness evolved throughout your career? Because I know you said that you started in fashion and now you're doing bodywork, skincare, and you're also helping other business owners. So, obviously, there's been a huge evolution throughout your career, which is amazing. And I feel like that's awesome that you've also like honored that. So, kind of take us through a little bit of that evolution.
It's a big question. I could take that answer in about six different directions. But the first thing that comes to mind truly is that I don't see them as being very different. I think when I am managing a team of my employees that are doing creative development or producing fashion for people to wear and enjoy and empower themselves, like if you're not comfortable in your clothing, you are not performing. It's the same managing vendor relationships or working one to one with somebody in enhancing their skin health. I see them as all the same thing, is my approach. I think that when we are observant, and I don't mean just like watching for what's happening, but I mean truly observant and paying attention to how people are reacting or responding and building a really good rapport with them and coming from a place of pure service. Like there's no agenda. I know we all need money. What money drives business, and that's why we do this. We all have to pay mortgages. We all have to pay for, our nice clothes and our nice skincare.
Yeah.
But it isn't why we do business. In my mind, it's like getting the financial gains. To me are like getting little love notes or thank you letters, and they flow when we do a good job. And when we do a good job, people are happy to engage.
Yeah. So it sounds like throughout your career, you've definitely had a very value first approach with everything that you've done, where it's like, okay, you're bringing value, and then the things that you need with that will kind of follow, which is amazing. I feel like in business, everyone really should have that approach. It's you're adding value to other people's lives rather than, getting paid for a service or, whatever.
Yeah. Well, and those come hand in hand for sure. I think it's the only way that business thrives. I think that just like we were talking about nervous system dysregulation, I think that our perceptions of business as a result have somehow gone off into a tangent that isn't very healthy.
Yeah, no, that makes sense completely. And I guess this brings me into kind of my next question. What are some key strategies you've used while growing your business, but also maintaining a focus on wellness too? Because, of course, with taking that really holistic approach, you also want to be aligned with your wellness and your business. So how have you kind of done that?
A personal level or within the business?
Both.
Oh, okay. So within the business, I'll go there first, and I'm going to talk specifically about my skincare business.
Okay.
I am, I said earlier, I'm a voracious learner. I'm also quite a researcher. I believe in sourcing my products that I use, my products and my tools actually, for what I feel like will do the best job for my clients. So clean ingredients is one part, but anybody in the skin industry knows that there's zero regulation in products in this industry, and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And I do my utmost to qualify my products that I use for my clients to ensure that they are getting the best quality products with the best quality ingredients. So I've chosen for the most part to use medical grade products that come with natural health product numbers attached. So I know that there's a regulatory board that they are accountable for that continues their social compliances that are important to me. So that's one of the things I do. And I think that, all of I can't even keep up with how many natural brands there are in this industry right now. And they're all great on the surface, but truly when you get into them and dig into them, they're not for everybody and they're not perfect as far as solving skincare issues.
Yeah.
So there's just as much ethical sourcing when we're dealing with natural products that we have to be. And my clients have come to know that I don't recommend something and I do not bring something in that I have not done my due diligence on. And that will be always. On a personal level, how I ensure my vitality and energy so that I can bring that forward is by doing I practice what I preach and embody what I teach my clients. So, and that's more than using great skincare. That is my morning routines. I love to call them rituals. I try so hard to reframe my clients' beliefs into creating their self-care habits as a ritual. Making everything feel good, smell good, look good. When you walk into your washroom and you see your skincare, it should be beautiful.
Yeah.
If you want to feel beautiful, it should look beautiful on your counter. Like, take some effort, prioritizing my exercise, walking my dog, and doing the things that make me really happy. Some things that are, maybe silly, but I don't think they are. Every morning I go out in my garden and I garden almost all year long. And that's a really important part of my well being. So having that time to commit to myself, doing practices like I do a lot of breath work. I do a lot of different meditations. I manage my diet quite, I believe in free form. I have a really big, bright, shiny lighthouse out there, but I go with the flow getting through there. But my commitment to my end goals in my health personally are large enough that I don't have to worry about having discipline, because discipline just, it isn't even a question it's not an empowering word to me, firstly. So I do things that really make me feel good, and I surround myself with the right people of supports. I work with coaches that keep me on track and continue to inspire me, and all of that stuff, and giving back. Like I participate in mentorships programs. I work as a mentor for a women's group up here, and that keeps me on track. Like, there's so many different little things that I do in my days that really keep me on track.
Yeah, I feel like that's really important when you're growing a business to really focus on yourself and kind of find those things that light you up, whether it is gardening or it's mentoring other women in your community. I think it's really, really important to focus on yourself. And kind of going back to something that you said earlier about the medical grade skincare, do you have, like, for everyone that's listening, do you have a favorite brand that you use? Because obviously there's a lot out there, but if you have done super extensive research on it, then I'm sure we would love to hear what you like.
Yeah, well, the primary brand that I use in my skincare business is called Illumier MD.
Okay.
So it's beautiful. It's easy for my clients to understand. It's affordable. It's not complicated. They specialize in sunscreens and chemical peels and targeted serums, and the home care systems, super simple. And my clients can order online. It's manufactured in Canada, which is an important social compliance for me as a Canadian. And that has been my whole career since my 20s. It's really great that right now in Canada, people actually care again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also manufactured in France. It is distributed all through the US, so I know it's available there, but that is my go-to brand for sure.
Okay, cool. And I'll probably link that so anyone who wants to look at it or, shop, then they can, because I feel like that is really important. There's so many brands out there, and a lot of the medical grade stuff too it's great, but it is sometimes really expensive. So if you said it's also affordable, then that's amazing for people.
I think the quality of what it is very affordable.
Yeah.
And that is having products that are achievable to clients and not complicated. There's a couple brands that I have used and I will draw from sometimes, but the protocols are so different that I have to make a spreadsheet for my clients to remember what to do. And
Yeah.
that is just not it.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's not sustainable. If it's too complicated, you're not going to be able to do that once or twice a day.
for
It's
for months.
yeah, exactly. You want something that you can definitely maintain and that is sustainable. So I think that that's great. What role do you think that education, and we talked about this a little bit, but what role does education play in helping clients and customers understand the connection between skincare and overall health, especially with kind of a very holistic approach as well?
Well, I think education in skincare is critical because of the tie to producing great results to nutritional or gut health, to brain health and emotional well being. Mental health right now is the buzzword, but I think it roots down to emotional health and
Yeah.
how we're feeling on a daily basis. So I speak more about emotional health to my clients and environmental concerns, lifestyle changes, and things like that. So I think in order to create great results in producing skin health for clients, it's a key part of the component. Because if we're only addressing the topical aspect, we're not going to produce extraordinary results.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, definitely. And I feel like you talked a little bit about how you are also kind of focused on right now helping other clinic owners and other practitioners who are just getting started kind of with growing their business as well, which is amazing that you want to help other practitioners too. So what has been like, I guess, one piece of advice or like one nugget of advice that you could give to someone who wants to start their own clinic or who wants to start their own practice?
I think the one piece of advice, again, there's like 20 that come up, but I
You can
think
give us 20 too.
from a new, you're talking from a new service provider or practitioner, right?
Yes.
So somebody freshly trained,
Yes.
I would say figure out what your key talents are, what your personality, how you work best. And I don't mean personality profiling. I mean figuring out how you work best and what works for you within life and delegate the rest.
Yeah.
Because I think and I believe for somebody in that position, working with somebody that has an expertise in something that you don't love or you don't have that expertise in will catapult your business in ways that will pay for itself 10 times over very quickly. Like I have
Mm.
a client that hired me in December because I work as an online business manager for I don't take a lot of clients. I take about 6 clients at a time. And in December, we started. And I said to her, I said, my goal for you is that in 3 months, you're going to have 4 times the income of what you're paying me on top of what you're currently making. Well, she's currently like 12 times. Yeah. So I'm not kidding you that hiring out specialties and systems, creating those operating systems, tying in what your long vision goal is to where you are now and creating that really bright lighthouse that you can find your way to will 100% make your business life a lot more inspiring.
Yeah.
And that, when we're inspired, we don't burn out. We actually fuel ourselves and we go, oh, we need a rest. However, there's no, resiliency and burnout. They just don't like, they don't have to be a conversation because you're almost self-propelled.
Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure. I feel like when you are finding joy in your work, it makes it so much easier than when you're using force, to like do these things that you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, but I have to do this so I can do this other thing that I love. But you're right, rather than forcing yourself to do it, you can delegate it out and it will pay for itself over and over because you're finding so much joy and inspiration in your work. So I completely agree with you. And I guess when you were just starting out, like take yourself kind of back, I know, a while. But what were some of those tasks that you delegated out that really helped propel your business forward?
Accounting. No question there. I still have a bookkeeper and an accountant. Those are two parts of my business that are a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
Most recently, I've hired a VA for myself to do newsletters
Okay.
because I just wasn't getting to them.
Yeah.
So I think a big part of this conversation is actually being honest with yourself. Like there's all those things. I can do them in my sleep and I do them for other people. But when it came to myself, I just wasn't getting it done. So obviously it wasn't happening. Right. So I think that we have to be super honest with ourselves to get what we need and figure those pieces out.
Yeah, no, I think that that's great
Yeah.
advice for sure. Because yeah, like I already said, I just feel like you should focus on the things where you're really excelling, and then kind of the rest delegate as much as you can, you know. And in the beginning, it is kind of tough because you know you're like, oh gosh, like I'm gonna spend all this money on this, but it's gonna pay back itself a lot over. So I completely agree with you. What emerging trends right now in the skincare and wellness industry are you kind of most excited about?
I am super excited that there's so much social content out there for education on nervous system regulation and lymphatic drainage.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when we are supporting those systems within our beings, that's so exciting to me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's many trends actually, because I work with a lot of women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s as well. And I am working with a lot of people right now that are recreating themselves, both personally and in business. And that I think is a huge trend as well, because, there's just so many more choices and freedoms and stuff that are exciting.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like social media is so great with helping get word out about new things that are going on. And it's getting a lot more people involved as well in the conversation who prior may not have been involved. But I know also with social media, obviously, there also comes like misconceptions that people have because people are, you know, people can just say whatever they want, which is great, you know, but it also has its downfalls to it too. So is there anything that you've seen recently that you're like, oh my gosh, like who is saying this nonsense? Because I feel like that's a very, very common theme too, as well with social media.
It's painful, actually. I think that we have to be very careful to believe what we read or see. My moment that I'll talk about is anytime I study something or implement something or I'm really interested, I always go to other practitioners to experience it, right? Because I have to again practice what I preach. So I go out and I get these treatments. Well, I went out for what was called a lymphatic massage, and it was like I was bruised from head to toe.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I left there going, oh my gosh, right? Like people are going for this thinking that that is correct. It was terrifying to me. And that was my aha moment in like, we have to be careful here, people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I feel like I said, like social media is so great, but like I feel like there also is an issue with that. And then also with the rise of things like lymphatic drainage, you know, like there's people that maybe aren't supposed to be practicing that maybe are, you know, because they've taken, you know, whatever. But yeah, I completely agree with you. Sometimes it just is, it's people aren't qualified necessarily to be what they're doing what they're doing.
Well, and things like Instagram can make people look like specialists in something
Yeah.
after taking a weekend course on Udemy,
Yeah.
right? And there's no regulation. So we do have to, as consumers, as people going out there looking for help and support, we have to qualify what we're looking for.
Yeah.
I also think I experience another side of that in business where people may think they know everything, and
Yeah.
they're actually not very open minded. So I think it's really important to stay curious,
Yeah.
like and really open minded to there might be more to learn, or that might be great on Instagram, but it might not be great for you or for me.
Yeah. No,
Mhm.
I completely agree with you. I do think it's very important to stay open minded as well because if you feel like you know everything about this one thing, then you're not going to be willing to learn more, because obviously there's new research coming out all the time. You know, there's always these new innovations coming out. So you have to stay at least somewhat open minded, because we're really discovering things with new research.
Absolutely. Women's health and hormones is a classic example of that. What was put out a couple decades ago versus what is currently being released is completely contradictory.
Yeah. Do you want to speak to that a little bit more?
I'm not an expert in that field,
Yeah.
but I think it's liberating
Yeah.
for the amount of information and the amount of education that we currently have access to.
Yeah.
And the results that I'm seeing out of my clinic with the overall health of women improving because of things like HRT, it's
Yeah.
extraordinary. I'm giddy about it. I'm so thankful that my girls are going to be raised with better education than I was.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I do feel like there's been a lot of advancements in that field, and a lot of women are feeling so much better, you know, and just like they have like almost a whole new life with all of the hormones and stuff that we have out there. So that's amazing. And what do you see for kind of the future of skincare and wellness evolving in the next few years? Like, what do you see kind of that we have coming up, and what you're excited to see?
Well, I wish what I would be excited to see was happening, but I think that there's a lot of overwhelm in the industry of skincare right now because even walking through mass superstores or drugstores and then there's skin clinics and online business, it's a little overwhelming for people and there's so much, right? So the trend that I am trying to implement with my clients is simplicity.
Yeah.
Like simplicity, wear really good quality sunscreen that actually protects you and doesn't harm you, and drink enough water, sleep enough, eat high density nutrient food, do all of the things, get out in nature, love your dog, hug your dog, all of the good stuff, and use simple skincare products consistently. That is really I can't speak to the trends because there's just too many of them,
Yeah.
but that is the trend I am trying to implement in my clients.
I love that though. Simplicity is a lot easier to follow than complexity anyway. So I think that that is absolutely amazing. And before we end, do you have any like final words? I definitely want you to tell people kind of where would be the best place for everyone to find you as well, so they can follow you on social media or check out your website, anything like that.
Well, my website will be in the show notes, I expect, is
Yes.
leslielee.ca. And LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn under Leslie D. Lee. Those are probably the two easiest places because all my links to my socials and stuff are on my website. So it's all there. And my website is not necessarily the best website. It doesn't show everything about me, but I hope they find me. I would love to talk. Book a consultation with me anytime to discuss anything, be it skincare, pain management, anything,
Okay.
business development. My passion really is development of people and professional projects. That is what I'm passionate about, and I love to work with people. I work with people all over North America.
Okay, that's amazing. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, we'll have Leslie's website in the show notes and also her LinkedIn profile. So definitely go find her there. And we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor.